I think sometimes we need to get things into perspective, don't we? Now, Angela Rayner may indeed have inadvertently or determinedly fiddled the tax system, and she may well be owing £1,500 to the Inland Revenue in capital gains tax. That may well be the case. But surely the point is that Baroness Mone owes £29 million. Is that correct? 29 million. That seems a huge amount. Michael Ashcroft, Lord Ashcroft, doesn't he owe some money? It's and what was Moon doing? Is she's a member of the House of Lords? Ashcroft's a member of the House of Lords, and or at least was formerly a member of the House of Lords. He resigned, I think, in 2015, but he avoided tax in the same way. Why are we focusing so much on Angela Rayner, who says that she had legal advice, whether she did or whether she didn't? This is small fry in comparison to what's going on in other parts of Parliament. Now, I could give the impression here that I'm being partisan, that I'm saying, let's protect Angela Rayner because she's a Labour person, and let's not protect these Conservatives. Actually, I have no interest at all in whether Angela Rayner is Labour or Conservative. It's purely coincidental. And the issue really is the huge amounts of money pocketed by, should we say, disreputable people? I don't know whether I need the word allegedly in front of that. While somebody who may have made a mistake or may have been caught out by some, it's really difficult trying to weave your way through our legal system. I've been trying to get involved in a legal case over the last few weeks, and I'm being sent letters. All I'm trying to do is to help. And I'm being sent letters by the Royal Courts of Justice up in London, and demanding bits of money so that I can file the paperwork, and asking me to write to this person or that person, but providing no address. It's almost as if the court is determined that I shouldn't be involved. And the person I'm trying to support has been telling me horror stories about how he has similarly been stymied by the court processes, which are byzantine. If the court isn't accessible to ordinary people, then it's not doing its job. And if you get a letter which is so complex and so confusing, and the actual information that you want is absent, the only thing you can conclude is that the court is calculatedly trying to make it difficult for you to file. Now, if I go through all the hoops and I go to other websites, I can find that information. And I found it. But it took me nearly 3 hours to do so. That information could have been on the letter, could have been on the email. And it's not that I did the first bit of the filing wrongly. It's that they flagged up something that they hadn't earlier suggested. It's the tyranny of bureaucracy. And I remember it vividly when I tried to register as self-employed in the late 1990s in Greece. And in the end, after 2 weeks of this misery, I found myself in the police part of the Department for Employment in Athens. And I found myself crying. And it did actually open doors. But it was a humiliating and exhausting process. It taught me a lot. And I see the same rubbish going on here in our courts, and I think, I smell nonsense. And I smell deflection. I smell... one of the things which I thought was so interesting about the Greek situation was the person who was actually in charge had a completely empty desk and was sitting drinking coffee. And the person who was actually doing the job was on the opposite side of the room with a desk piled so high with papers and books and objects. There was no way he could possibly get through all that work. And yet the fellow drinking the coffee was practically supine in his chair. He was laid right back, and he directed me with a wave of the hand to the fellow with all the books and papers on his desk. And they both affected not to understand my Greek, and then started talking about me in Greek, assuming I didn't understand Greek myself, assuming I was simply incompetent. I was flustered, and what I initially said to them, I think, came out as gobbledygook. But yeah, I understood very well what they were talking about, and in the end, I was able to make use of that. But here, we're all theoretically speaking the same language, and I don't understand what the court is talking about. And I rang them up last week on their helpline, and the person on the other end of the helpline, who's probably paid the minimum wage, was completely, do I say the word opaque here? Meaning incomprehensible. And I came off the call more confused than I was before I went on it. This is designed to confuse.